ever heard the phrase emotionally numb before? Many people have this condition, but everyone feels it differently. Here are some signs or symptoms to find out if someone you love may be experiencing emotional numbness, and some reasons why it may have started in the first place. But before we begin, subscribe to Bestie and click the notification bell. Don't forget to watch this video until the end to support Bestie. Feeling disconnected. This is a big one. When it comes to emotional numbness, people often describe it as a feeling of being detached from oneself. Not only that, but when a person's attending a party or wedding, anything that should evoke a happy or sad emotion, they talk about watching themselves from afar. This is a feeling of disassociation, where you become disconnected from your own body or thoughts. This often goes along with a feeling like you're being cut off from events happening around you, which is also known as derealization. You don't enjoy activities you once did. You feel exhausted no matter how much sleep you get, and you generally feel off. People will isolate themselves. This is common when it comes to things like mental illness. Emotional numbness is often referred to as depersonalization, derealization disorder, or DD. People talk about how hard it is to really push themselves to go out and perform even the simplest of tasks, like running errands or going to work. Going to work and going right home after is often all a person struggling with mental illness can focus on. Not only that, but it's said that since you're not experiencing emotions like you once did, you no longer have interest in activities that were once important or positive. However, experiencing emotional numbness could be a signal that you're struggling with something else altogether, something like trauma. They could be struggling with PTSD. Emotional avoidance and PTSD often go together. When someone experiences something traumatic, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD might develop shortly after. Traumatic events can create emotional scars, and it makes sense that we would want to avoid things that remind us of these awful moments. This is known as avoidance, and if a person is going through PTSD, they might have many triggers in a span of a normal day. It would only make sense that they would want to avoid the things they once enjoyed to prevent bringing that event back up, which, in turn, may leave you feeling like you're just going through the motions, otherwise known as Autopilot. Days are blending together and everything looks a constant shade of gray. Without feeling the normal ups and downs that regular everyday life has to offer, life can really start to feel like you're going through the motions. This is another common symptom of someone who could be going through a patch of emotional numbness. Remember, everyone experiences this differently and for different lengths of time, so each case could be different. The idea of going on autopilot can also be thought of as you're sleepwalking through your obligations, not really having a say over what you say or do, and experiencing times of memory loss. When you don't feel these emotions for a long period of time, you can forget how to identify them, which brings us to our next point. You can't describe how you're feeling. When you don't feel any kind of emotion, you might start to forget what those emotions mean and how it feels to experience them. We're supposed to go through many emotions in a day, so going weeks and sometimes months on end without experiencing any kind of high or low would eventually make it difficult to identify any kind of feeling at all. The idea of feeling numb is the absence of emotion, and this can make it even more difficult when you're trying to get help. Being able to talk through your emotions can help you make sense of them. Have you ever gotten really upset about a situation, vented to your best friend about it, and felt way better after? Sometimes all we need to do is hear about the problem out loud. Get out of our heads. It can do a world of good. However, not being able to identify anything you're feeling makes it difficult to then talk about those feelings and help you process them. You feel empty inside. When we can't process our emotions, we probably won't feel much of anything or feel nothing but emptiness. This is one of the biggest signals that you may be struggling with emotional numbness. It's not feeling empty like you're hungry, it's the mental kind of empty. You can feel this kind of emptiness in your heart, in your throat, anywhere really. It can also feel like there's something missing within you. When we're used to feeling many emotions throughout the span of the day, it's only natural that you'd feel an empty space the absence of these emotions would leave behind. Our emotions let us know who we are. They're kind of like a signal when it comes to mental well-being. And eventually, they're gonna wanna come out, as our emotions are meant to be experienced. The emotion you do feel is irritability or anger. When it comes to emotional numbness, you still have the capacity to feel some things. You remember when we said these emotions, when held back for too long, might fight their way out to be heard? If this happens, these feelings can commonly flip from anger or overreacting to nothing at all. If one is experiencing any kind of emotion, it's probably been blended together and mixed into an anger soup that's been boiling for quite some time. Since someone struggling with emotional numbness is so walled off all the time, when the emotions do make it to the surface, they can be powerful. Someone who rarely gets emotion and then all of a sudden gets a surge of all of them all at once will probably not have the tools to deal with the sudden flood of emotion and will likely not be able to control what comes out. So what are the causes of emotional numbness or DD? Well, that's a tricky question. Since everyone processes their emotions differently, and since we all have different responses to the world around us, it's hard to pinpoint what the cause is without help from a professional, like a therapist. One of the most common reasons is stress, though. Stress can be really harmful to the body. And if you're wondering what other effects stress can have on the body, make sure you check out 8 important signs that your body is very stressed. Stress can also be present in the form of trauma. We touched on PTSD a little earlier in this video, but traumatic experiences can range from emotional or physical abuse. The loss of a loved one, especially sudden, unexpected loss. Extreme stress with someone who is close to you, like a spouse, family member, or even a coworker, and of course, financial stress. What changes can I make to help overcome or cope with emotional numbness? Well, there are a few lifestyle things you can try if you're not ready to seek professional help yet. Some common coping strategies that have been documented are trying to reduce stress. Make more room in your life for things you love. That can be something like picking up an old hobby, like painting, or playing music that you once loved, or it can be as big as removing yourself from a toxic work environment. Of course, it wouldn't be a Bestie video if we didn't talk to you about a healthy diet. Giving your body what it needs will in turn make you feel better physically and mentally. Getting enough sleep is another big one, as this will give your brain the time it needs to rest and recharge after long, hard days. Talk to your friends and family when you feel like you need help or are feeling like you're struggling. And finally, if you've taken all these steps, you can try to find what stresses you out in life or any triggers that make you unhappy and either eliminate them or find a healthy way to cope. Of course, at the end of all of this, if you're feeling like you can't cope or you're feeling very lost, it's always a good idea to ask for help from your family or loved ones and possibly seek out a medical professional. Do you or someone you know struggle with emotional numbness? Let us know in the comment section below what steps you take to keep yourself mentally healthy. Enjoyed this video? Hit like, share, and subscribe to Bestie. Wait! What kind of Bestie would we be if we didn't tell you about our other awesome videos? Go ahead, choose the left or right video and enjoy.